The massive doors of the Grand Council chamber opened with a sound like thunder. Ambassador Marcus Webb walked forward, his footsteps echoing in the vast space. Above him, the chamber stretched upward for what seemed like miles. Hundreds of alien species sat in ascending rings, their forms ranging from the familiar to the utterly bizarre. Some breathed oxygen like humans. Others existed in sealed environmental pods filled with methane or liquid ammonia. A few appeared to be pure energy contained in crystalline vessels. Marcus stepped onto a circular platform that hung suspended over a holographic projection of the galaxy. The platform was small, isolated, designed to make whoever stood upon it feel insignificant. Around the edges of the chamber, armed guards from a dozen different species watched with weapons ready. The message was clear. This was not a negotiation between equals. This was a judgment. At the highest point of the chamber sat the Supreme Arbiter. Vraxis was a being of living crystal, facets catching and refracting light in patterns that hurt human eyes to watch. When Vraxis spoke, the words came not from a mouth, but from vibrations in the air itself. Human, Representative Marcus Webb for the planet Earth, stand before the Galactic Council to answer for the crimes of your species. Marcus kept his expression neutral. He had trained for this moment for 3 years, ever since Earth made first contact with the Council. He knew the stakes. Humanity's entire future hung on what happened in this chamber. The charges are as follows, Vraxis continued. A hologram appeared, showing human ships moving through space. Unauthorized expansion into restricted sectors. Your species has established settlements in 7 star systems beyond your designated containment zone. This violates the Territorial Preservation Act, Section 4, Paragraph 12. More images appeared. Human mining operations on asteroids. Human research stations orbiting distant planets. Human vessels exploring regions of space marked as Council territory. Furthermore, Vraxis said, humanity has developed military technology beyond your assigned classification level. Emerging species are restricted to basic fusion, drives, and conventional weapons for their first 3 centuries of spaceflight. You have exceeded these limits in less than 50 years. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Some sounded angry. Others seemed frightened. Marcus understood why. The rules existed for a reason. Young species were dangerous, unpredictable, prone to making catastrophic mistakes. The Council had seen it happen before. Entire civilizations wiped out by their own weapons. Wars that sterilized whole star systems. A snake-like alien rose from its seat, speaking through a translator device. The humans cannot be trusted. They still fight wars among themselves. They have not achieved planetary unity. That was true 10 years ago, Marcus said calmly. It is not true now. Silence. Vraxis commanded. You will speak only when given permission. Marcus bowed his head slightly, but did not apologize. A small gesture of defiance that several delegates noticed. How does humanity answer these charges? Vraxis asked. Marcus took a breath. This was the moment. With a question of my own, Supreme Arbiter. Who gave the Council authority to imprison an entire species in their home system? The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in languages that the translation fields struggled to interpret. Guards moved closer to the platform. Marcus stood perfectly still, hands clasped behind his back. You dare question the Council's authority? Demanded a massive creature covered in thick armor plating. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 10,000 years. By controlling every species that emerges, Marcus replied. By keeping them weak and dependent. By ensuring that no one can ever challenge your power. That is not why the protocols exist, Vraxis said. But there was something in the Arbiter's tone that suggested uncertainty. Then explain to me, Marcus said. Why species that submit to council supervision take an average of 4,000 years to achieve full membership. Explain why some never achieve it at all. Explain why humanity should accept becoming a permanent underclass in galactic society. Before anyone could respond, every screen in the chamber suddenly turned red. Alarm signals pierced the air with a sound that made several aliens clutch at sensory organs. A technician burst into the chamber, all four of its eyes wide with panic. Supreme Arbiter. Emergency. Long-range sensors have detected an unknown fleet. The chamber fell silent. Vraxis turned toward the technician. Where? 3 light hours from this station, Arbiter. They appeared without warning. No jump signature. No energy buildup. They were just suddenly there. How many ships? Asked General Cross, commander of the Council Defense Fleet. The technician's voice shook. 743 capital ships, General. Each one matches or exceeds the firepower of our heavy cruisers. The silence that followed was absolute. Marcus felt his heart racing, but kept his face calm. Inside, his mind was spinning. 700 ships? That was impossible. Earth's entire fleet numbered less than 200 vessels, and most of those were small scouts and transports. Have they made any hostile moves? Cross demanded. No, General. But they have sent a message. The technician looked at Marcus. It is in Earth languages, multiple dialects. And it says this: release our diplomat, or we will retrieve him ourselves. Every eye in the chamber turned to Marcus. The human ambassador stood on his platform, genuinely surprised by this development. He had expected political pressure, economic sanctions, maybe even a military blockade of Earth. But this? An unknown fleet appearing at the Council's doorstep. Who commands this fleet? Vraxis asked Marcus directly. I do not know, Arbiter. This is as much a surprise to me as it is to you. You expect us to believe that? Snarled a lizard-like delegate. Your people bring an armada to our capital, and you claim ignorance? I claim nothing except the truth, Marcus said. Though I will point out that if humanity intended to threaten the Council, we would have done so through proper diplomatic channels first. Scan those ships, Cross ordered. Full spectrum analysis. I want to know what we are facing. Technicians worked frantically at their stations. Images of the unknown fleet appeared on screens throughout the chamber. The ships were unlike anything in the Council database. Sleek designs that seemed to blend organic curves with geometric precision. Hull materials that absorbed sensor beams. Energy signatures that fluctuated in patterns that made no sense according to known physics. These designs are not in our records, reported the chief analyst. They do not match any known human vessel configuration. But the communication protocols are definitely from Earth. Could they be from another human faction? Morven, a delegate from the Plutarch Assembly, asked. A secret military branch, perhaps? Earth has no separate military branches capable of this, another delegate insisted. We have monitored their home system constantly. We would have seen construction on this scale. The unknown fleet sent another message. The same calm voice, speaking in flawless Council standard. You have 6 hours to release Ambassador Webb and withdraw all charges against humanity. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. Vraxis stood, light refracting through the crystal body in sharp, angry patterns. Take the human into custody. I want answers. Deploy the defense fleet to defensive positions. And someone find out where those ships came from. Security forces surrounded Marcus's platform. The ambassador did not resist as they placed restraint fields around his wrists. As they led him away, he looked back at the assembled council one last time. 6 hours, he said quietly. I suggest you use that time wisely. The chamber erupted into chaos as Marcus disappeared through a side entrance. Outside, in the cold darkness of space, 743 unknown ships waited in perfect formation. Their weapons powered, but not yet aimed. Their purpose clear, but their origin a mystery. And somewhere aboard those vessels, someone was counting down the hours until humanity's patience ran out. The interrogation room was small and cold. Marcus sat in a chair designed for beings with very different anatomy, making it uncomfortable by design. Across from him, 3 senior council members watched through a transparent barrier. Vraxis, General Cross, and Delegate Morven. Behind them, technicians monitored every biological reading from the human, searching for signs of deception. "Let us be clear about your situation," Vraxis said. "An unknown military force threatens this council. They claim to represent humanity. Either you know about this fleet and have been deceiving us, or your own species has kept you ignorant. Neither option reflects well on Earth." Marcus met the crystal being's gaze without flinching. "Has it occurred to you that there might be a third option?" "Explain." "That humanity is more capable than you assumed. That while you watched our home system with your sensors and your spies, we were accomplishing things you did not think possible." Cross slammed a metallic appendage against the barrier. "Impossible. We have surveillance satellites throughout your sector. No construction. No shipyards. No fleet assembly points. Where did these vessels come from? Perhaps," Marcus said slowly, "you saw exactly what we wanted you to see." The implications of that statement hung in the air. Morven leaned forward, the delegate's large eyes narrowing. "You are suggesting humanity has stealth technology advanced enough to fool our detectee?" "On systems? I am suggesting," Marcus replied, "that you have grown comfortable, complacent. You have been the dominant power in this galaxy for so long that you forgot what it means to be challenged." Outside the interrogation room, Council scientists worked frantically to analyze the unknown fleet. They sent probes to scan the vessels from a safe distance. They deployed every sensor technology in their arsenal. They searched databases going back thousands of years for any similar ship designs. The results were disturbing. The ships used materials that should not exist according to current metallurgical understanding. Their energy sources produced signatures that defied conventional physics. And their defensive capabilities were extraordinary. When one probe drifted too close, it simply vanished. No explosion. No debris. The probe ceased to exist as if it had never been there at all, not in the Council's Strategic Operations Center. Admiral Torvin studied tactical projections. Torvin was a veteran of 17 major conflicts, the most experienced military mind in Council service. The simulations running on the screens before him all showed the same conclusion, and it made the old warrior's blood run cold. "If it comes to combat," Torvin reported to the Emergency Security Council, "we can win. But the casualties would be catastrophic. Current projections suggest we would lose between 30 and 40% of the defense fleet, and that assumes the enemy has no additional capabilities we have not yet observed." 40%? Gasped one of the council members. "That would leave us vulnerable to every hostile force in the galaxy." "Precisely," Torvin said. "Which is why I recommend we negotiate." "Negotiate?" General Cross roared. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not negotiate with terrorists." "These are not terrorists," Torvin said calmly. "Terrorists make demands without having the power to enforce them. This fleet has the power. They are simply choosing not to use it yet. That restraint suggests intelligence, discipline, and confidence. All dangerous qualities in an adversary." Meanwhile, Marcus remained in the interrogation room. Vraxis had changed tactics, now trying to appeal to reason rather than authority. "Ambassador Webb, surely you understand the chaos that would result if every emerging species rejected Council guidance. The protocols exist to prevent disaster. Your own history shows what happens when aggressive species gain advanced weapons. How many times did humanity nearly destroy itself with nuclear weapons? How many wars have you fought? All of them, Marcus said quietly. Every war humanity ever fought taught us something. We learned from our mistakes. We grew. We unified. Something your own species took 6,000 years to accomplish, if I recall correctly. Vraxis shifted, light patterns rippling with what might have been discomfort. That is different, is it? Or is it simply that you prefer the old way of doing things? Slow growth, careful control, everyone staying in their assigned place. Marcus leaned forward despite the restraints. The galaxy changes, Arbiter. Either the Council changes with it, or the Council becomes irrelevant. A technician burst into the room. Arbiter, the fleet is moving. Everyone rushed to the main operations center. On the massive display screens, the unknown fleet had broken formation. But they were not attacking. Instead, they were performing a complex series of maneuvers, ships weaving through space in patterns that seemed impossible given their size and mass. What are they doing? Cross demanded. An analyst spoke up, voice shaking. General, they are demonstrating capabilities. Look at the precision. Look at the coordination. Those ships are moving within meters of each other at velocities that should make collision inevitable. And they are doing it perfectly. They are showing off, Torvin said grimly. They want us to understand what they can do before they have to prove it violently. The fleet completed its demonstration and returned to formation. Then a new message arrived. This time, it included a visual component. A human woman appeared on screen, middle-aged, with short dark hair and wearing a military uniform of a design no one recognized. I am Captain Elara Voss of the Terran Defense Initiative. I speak for humanity's interests in this matter. Ambassador Webb is to be released immediately and all charges withdrawn. You have 4 hours and 37 minutes remaining. Who is the Terran Defense Initiative? Morven asked Marcus, who had been brought to the operations center. I have never heard of them, Marcus admitted. Earth's military is organized differently. We have no organization by that name in any official capacity. Then who are these people? Vraxis demanded. A possibility occurs to me, Marcus said. What if they are not from Earth? The chamber fell silent. Then Cross spoke. That makes no sense. They speak human languages. They claim to represent humanity. They represent humanity, Marcus agreed. But I never said they were from our home system. He gestured to the screen. You have been watching Earth for 20 years. You monitored our space program, our industrial output, our population centers. But space is vast, Arbiter, and humanity has been exploring it for 50 years. Did you really think we stayed in one place? Vraxis turned to the intelligence division. Check the database. Every human settlement, every colony, every outpost. The technicians worked quickly. Then one of them froze. Arbiter, we may have a problem. The archive shows 17 star systems within 50 light years of Earth that were surveyed and classified as uninhabited or unsuitable for development. So I am cross-referencing those surveys with current sensor data. Some of the readings do not match. This system here, cataloged as an unstable asteroid field. Current scans show the asteroids in different positions than recorded. And this one, marked as a nebula with high radiation. The radiation signature has changed. Understanding dawned on Morven's face. They hid their colonies, made them look like natural phenomena. The stealth technology, Torvin added, not just for ships, for entire worlds. Vraxis stood motionless, light patterns frozen in the crystal structure. Finally, the Arbiter spoke. How many colonies? The technician rechecked the data. Based on these anomalies, potentially 17 systems. If each has even a fraction of the industrial capacity we see in this fleet ... then we are not facing one human world, cross-finished. We are facing an interstellar civilization that has been operating in secret for decades. Captain Elara sent another transmission. 4 hours remain. I trust you are considering your options carefully. For what it is worth, we prefer peace. But we are prepared for whatever decision you make. Marcus watched the Council leadership struggle with this new reality. Everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. The young species they assumed they were guiding turned out to be an independent power with resources and capabilities that rivaled established Council members. Arbiter. Marcus said quietly, "You have a choice to make. You can fight us and possibly win at a terrible cost. Or you can accept that humanity deserves a seat at the table as equals. Not as subjects waiting for permission. As partners." Vraxis turned to him. "And if we refuse both options? Then Captain Elara will retrieve me by force. And after that, any possibility of peaceful relations ends. Is that really what you want?" The countdown continued. Somewhere in the depths of space, 17 hidden human colonies waited to see how their fate would be decided. The council chamber, filled with delegates arguing at volumes that strained translation systems. Some demanded immediate military action. Others called for negotiation. A few simply sat in stunned silence, trying to process the revelation that humanity had deceived them so completely. War-Consul Draken of the Vaxian Empire rose to address the assembly. Draken was massive, covered in thick red scales, with 4 arms that ended in claws designed for combat. The Vaxians were among the Council's most militant members, and Draken had built a career on aggressive responses to threats. "This is exactly why we have protocols." Draken roared. "Emerging species are dangerous. They lie, they scheme, they hide weapons in the shadows. The humans have proven that restricting their development was the correct decision. Now we must enforce that restriction with force." Murmurs of agreement came from several delegations, but Delegate Morven stood in opposition. "Consul Draken, what you propose is war. War against a species whose full capabilities we do not yet understand. Even if we win, the cost could destabilize the entire Council structure. Then we pay the cost." Draken snapped. "Better to sacrifice now than allow this cancer to spread. How long before other protectorate species follow humanity's example? How long before the entire system of peaceful development collapses?" Vraxis called for order. "A decision of this magnitude requires full debate. We will hear arguments from all sides before voting on a course of action." While the Council argued, Marcus was returned to a holding cell. But this one was different from the interrogation room. It had a window that looked out into space. And through that window, he could see the U. Known fleet maintaining its position. A guard brought him food and water. Marcus ate slowly, thinking through everything that had happened. The appearance of Captain Elara's fleet had been as much a surprise to him as to the Council. Earth's government had no knowledge of any Terran defense initiative. So where had these ships come from? The most logical explanation was that one of humanity's colonies had developed independently, building its own military force in secret. But 17 colonies coordinating such an effort without Earth's knowledge. That suggested a level of organization that should have been impossible to hide, unless that had been the plan all along. Marcus remembered briefings from years ago, when Earth first decided to reject Council supervision. There had been discussions about backup plans, about ensuring humanity's survival, even if the Council tried to suppress them. Had someone taken those discussions further than anyone realized? In the Operations Center, Admiral Torvin presented updated analysis to the senior leadership. "We have been observing the unknown fleet's formation and behavior. The patterns suggest extremely sophisticated command and control systems. But more interesting is what we have not seen. Explain, Braxis said. No crew changes. No resupply vessels. No evidence of waste disposal or life support cycles. These ships have been holding position for hours without any indication that living beings are aboard them. You think they are automated? Cross asked. Possibly. Or the life support technology is so efficient that it produces no detectable emissions. Either option is troubling. The first suggests artificial intelligence beyond anything we consider safe. The second suggests environmental technology centuries ahead of what humanity should possess. Morven processed this information. Could the ships be decoys? Elaborate drones designed to frighten us? Send a probe close enough to find out, and we risk another vanishing incident, Torvin replied. We already lost one probe. I am not eager to sacrifice more resources testing their resolve. A junior analyst approached with a data pad. Admiral, we have completed the survey of suspected human colony locations. We found definitive evidence of habitation in 14 of the 17 systems. Thermal signatures, electromagnetic emissions, orbital structures, all hidden behind sophisticated camouflage fields. 14 confirmed colonies, Praxis repeated slowly. And if each has a fraction of the industrial capacity required to build this fleet ... then the 300 ships we can see might be only a small portion of their total military strength. Torvin finished. We could be facing a force 3 or 4 times larger than current estimates. Draken refused to accept this conclusion. Impossible. The humans are bluffing. This is an elaborate trick, nothing more. Their entire species is barely 50 years into space travel. They cannot have built an empire without us knowing. And yet they did, Morven said quietly. Which should tell us something about how seriously we have underestimated them. The debate continued for another hour. Finally, Braxis called for a vote on 3 options: immediate military action, diplomatic negotiation, or continued observation. The vote was split almost evenly, with no clear majority for any single approach. Then I will make the decision, Braxis announced. We will negotiate. We will hear what humanity wants. And we will determine whether coexistence is possible. Draken objected furiously, but was overruled. Captain Ilara was contacted and invited to send a delegation to the Council Station under diplomatic immunity. She agreed, but with conditions. Ambassador Webb was to be released immediately and allowed to participate in all negotiations as a full equal dot an hour later. A small human shuttle detached from the fleet and approached the station. It carried 5 people: Captain Ilara, 3 officers from her crew, and a woman introduced as Governor Lisa Trent of the Colony Authority. The meeting took place in a secure conference room. No grand chamber this time. Just a table, chairs, and representatives from both sides. Vraxis, Cross, Morven, Torvin, and Draken represented the council. Marcus joined the human delegation, still uncertain about who these people actually were. Ilara spoke first. Thank you for agreeing to talk. I want to be clear about our intentions. We do not seek conflict with the council. We seek recognition. Recognition of what? Vraxis asked. Of humanity's right to determine its own path. Of our sovereignty over the systems we have settled. Of our status as an independent civilization, deserving the same respect you give to council members. Governor Trent added, when Earth made first contact with the council 20 years ago, we were offered a choice. Submit to your guidance and accept protectorate status, or be classified as hostile and face economic isolation. Neither option was acceptable. So you chose deception, Cross growled. We chose survival, Trent replied. We studied your histories. Every species that accepted protectorate status became trapped in a system designed to keep them subordinate. We decided we would rather build our own future, even if it meant doing so in secret. And the colonies? Morven asked. 17 worlds settled without permission? We did not need permission, Ilara said. Those systems were unclaimed, uninhabited, and far from any council territory. We settled them under our own authority. Everything within 500 light years of council space falls under our jurisdiction. Vraxis insisted. According to laws you wrote, Marcus interjected. Laws designed to ensure no emerging species could ever challenge your authority. We reject those laws. We reject the premise that older civilizations have the right to control younger ones. The room fell silent. Then Draken stood, muscles tensing. This is treason. You openly admit to violating council law. There must be consequences. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. A technician rushed in. General Cross. The Vaxian war fleet has entered the system. They are moving toward one of the suspected human colonies. All eyes turned to Draken. The war consul's expression made it clear this was not a surprise to him. He had ordered the attack without council authorization. What have you done? Vraxis demanded. What needed to be done, Draken replied. The humans will learn the price of defiance. And this council will remember what happens to those who challenge our authority. Ilara stood slowly, her face cold. Consul Draken, you have just made a terrible mistake. That colony has a population of 3 billion people. If your fleet attacks them, this becomes a war. And I promise you, it will be a war you regret. Your threats mean nothing, Draken sneered. 23 Vaxian dreadnoughts against whatever pitiful defenses your colony possesses. It will be over in minutes. Yes, Ilara agreed. It will. The Vaxian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the target system. War Leader Vex commanded the assault force from the bridge of the dreadnought. Relentless fury. 23 ships materialized in perfect formation. Their weapons charged and targeting systems active. Scan the system, Vex ordered. Locate the human settlement. The tactical officer worked quickly. Multiple orbital structures detected around the third planet. Industrial platforms, communications arrays, defensive satellites. Also detecting 12 human vessels in high orbit. Only 12? Vex laughed. This will be easier than expected. All ships prepare to engage. Target the orbital structures first. I want those defenses neutralized before we bombard the surface. The Vaxian fleet accelerated inward. Their dreadnoughts were massive, each one capable of carrying enough firepower to level a small continent. Against a colonial defense force of 12 ships, the outcome seemed inevitable, but as the Vaxians approached weapons range, something strange happened. The 12 human ships did not retreat. They did not send distress calls. Instead, they moved to intercept, arranging themselves in a formation that made no tactical sense according to Vaxian military doctrine. They are trying to fight us? Vex could not believe what he was seeing. Foolish. All weapons open fire. 23 dreadnoughts unleashed their first volley. Energy beams and kinetic projectiles crossed the void, enough destructive power to vaporize a small moon. The human ships dodged, not slowly, not clumsily, but with impossible precision. They weaved through the incoming fire like dancers, their movements coordinated to the microsecond. Not a single shot connected. What? How? Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Recalculate targeting solutions. Fire again. The second volley fared no better. The human ships seemed to predict where each shot would go before the Vaxians even fired. They moved in ways that violated basic physics, turning sharper than their inertia should allow, accelerating faster than their drives should permit. Then the human ships returned fire. 12 vessels against 23. The humans should have been hopelessly outmatched. But their weapons were like nothing the Vaxians had encountered before. Beams that seemed to ignore shields entirely. Projectiles that phased through armor. Energy pulses that disrupted every system they touched. The dreadnought Honor's Revenge took a direct hit. Its shields collapsed. Its hull buckled. The massive vessel broke apart in a cascade of secondary explosions. 3,000 crew members lost in an instant. Evasive maneuvers. Vex screamed. All ships scatter formation, but the human vessels pursued with relentless efficiency. They moved as a single unit, covering each other perfectly, targeting weak points with surgical precision. Another Vaxian ship died. Then another. Then 3 more in rapid succession. That the tactical officer's voice shook. War leader, we have lost 7 ships in 4 minutes. The humans are using the star's gravity well to slingshot around us. They are attacking from angles we cannot defend. Vex watched in growing horror as his fleet was torn apart. The human ships used tactics he had never seen, strategies that turned every advantage the Vaxians possessed into a liability. When the dreadnoughts tried to concentrate fire, the humans used the Vaxian ships themselves as shields. When the Vaxians scattered, the humans divided their forces and hunted down individual targets. We need reinforcements, the tactical officer said. We cannot win this engagement. Pride warred with survival instinct in Vex's mind. To call for help would mean admitting defeat to a numerically inferior force. But to stay meant watching his entire fleet die. The decision was made for him when another dreadnought exploded. Its reactor core breached by a weapon that seemed to strike from inside the shields. All ships retreat. Emergency jump now. The surviving Vaxian vessels turned to flee. But the human ships pursued, their weapons still firing with devastating accuracy. 2 more dreadnoughts died before they could escape. Of the 23 ships that entered the system, only 2 made it back to hyperspace. 21 destroyed. Thousands of crew dead. The entire engagement had lasted 17 minutes. Back at the council station, the observers watched in stunned silence. Real-time feeds from the Vaxian fleet showed the entire battle. When it ended, no one spoke for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Torvin broke the silence. 12 ships defeated 21 dreadnoughts. 17 minutes from first engagement to complete victory. He turned to Alara. What are your ships armed with? Nothing your physicists have not theorized about, Alara replied calmly. We simply took the theories and made them practical. Directed gravity weapons, phase shift projectiles, quantum disruption beams. The mathematics exists in your own databases. We just built them first. Draken stood frozen, his scales pale with shock. The war console had gambled everything on a show of force, and instead had demonstrated humanity's overwhelming military superiority. You murdered thousands of my people, Draken whispered. No, Alara corrected coldly. You murdered them. You ordered an unprovoked attack on a civilian colony. Our defense forces responded appropriately. Every death in that battle is on your conscience, Consul. Vraxus spoke, the crystal being's voice heavy with weariness. This changes everything. The military balance we assumed, the strategic calculations, all of it was based on false assumptions about human capabilities. Which was exactly our intention, Governor Trent said. We wanted you to understand that attacking humanity would be costly. Not impossible, but not worth the price. Now you know. Marcus watched the council leadership process this new reality. They had believed themselves the dominant power in the galaxy. Now they faced a species that could match them ship for ship, perhaps even exceed them. Morven spoke carefully. Captain Alara, Governor Trent, what happens now? Your demonstration of force was successful, but it has also made peaceful coexistence more difficult. There will be elements in the council who see this as proof that humanity must be destroyed before you become too powerful to stop. Then they will have to try, Ilara said. But consider this. We have shown you 12 ships defending one colony. We have 17 colonies. And the fleet outside your station numbers over 700 vessels. Do the mathematics. If war comes, both sides will lose millions. Both sides will be weakened. Both sides will leave ourselves vulnerable to outside threats. Is that really what the Council wants? What is the alternative? Vraxis asked. Partnership, Marcus said. Not submission. Not protectorate status. Full membership in the Council. Recognition of humanity's settlements and sovereignty. And most importantly, a rewriting of the protocols that have kept the emerging species trapped in secondary status. Those protocols have maintained peace for 10,000 years. Cross protested. They have maintained your power for 10,000 years, Trent corrected. Peace is a side effect. But times change. The galaxy evolves. Either the Council evolves with it, or the Council becomes irrelevant. Draken suddenly lunged toward the human delegation, claws extended. But before he could reach them, Admiral Torvin intercepted, blocking the war consul with surprising speed for someone of his age. Stand down, Draken, Torvin ordered. You have done enough damage for one day. They must pay. Draken roared. They destroyed my fleet. They humiliated the Vaxian Empire. You destroyed your own fleet with your arrogance, Vraxis said coldly. You ordered an unauthorized military strike that violated every diplomatic protocol. You will be removed from your position and held accountable for this disaster. Guards moved in to restrain Draken. The war consul struggled but was overwhelmed. As he was dragged away, he screamed warnings about the human threat, about the danger of showing weakness, about the end of the Council's authority. His voice faded into the distance. The conference room fell quiet again. Then Vraxis made a decision that would change galactic history. Very well. We will negotiate new terms. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. Representatives from hundreds of species debated every detail of what would become known as the Concordat of New Terms. Some delegations argued passionately against granting humanity full Council membership. Others saw opportunity in welcoming a dynamic new power into galactic politics. Marcus participated in every session. Along with Captain Elara and Governor Trent, they faced hostile questions, suspicious inquiries, and countless attempts to limit humanity's authority. But they held firm on their core demands: equal status, recognized sovereignty, and reform of the protectorate system. The hardest negotiation concerned Draken's fate. The Vaxian Empire demanded his release, claiming he had acted in the Council's best interests. Humanity insisted on accountability for the unprovoked attack. The compromise was an unprecedented joint tribunal where both Council and human representatives would judge the war consul's actions. Throughout the negotiations, the unknown fleet remained at its position outside the station, a constant reminder of humanity's strength. Every delegate who looked out into space saw those ships and remembered what 12 vessels had done to 21 dreadnoughts. But gradually, the mood shifted. Fear began to give way to curiosity. Younger delegates from emerging species saw humanity's success as inspiration. If one species could break free from the protectorate system, perhaps others could too. Vraxis met privately with Marcus during a recess. You have disrupted 10,000 years of carefully maintained order. Order built on suppression, Marcus replied. You kept everyone in their place to maintain your power. That is not peace, Arbiter. That is control. And what makes you think humanity will be better stewards of galactic civilization? We do not claim to be better. We claim to be different. We bring new ideas, new energy, new perspectives. The galaxy has been stagnant for millennia. We are offering change. Vraxis was silent for a long moment. Then the crystal being did something unexpected. A sound emerged, modulated vibrations that the translator struggled to interpret. After a moment, Marcus realized Vraxis was laughing. "What is funny?" Marcus asked. "I am ancient by your standards, Ambassador Webb. I have lived for 6,000 of your years. And in all that time, I have watched the Council grow increasingly comfortable, increasingly rigid. We stopped innovating. We stopped exploring. We simply maintained what we already had." The laughter faded. "Perhaps disruption is exactly what we need, even if it terrifies us." The final agreement was signed in a ceremony broadcast throughout the galaxy. Humanity received full Council membership, not as a protectorate, but as an independent power. The 17 colonies were recognized as legitimate settlements. And most significantly, the protectorate protocols were reformed to give emerging species more autonomy and faster paths to full membership. In exchange, humanity agreed to share certain technologies with the Council, to participate in mutual defense agreements, and to accept Vraxis personally as an observer on Earth to ensure compliance with the new terms. When the ceremony ended, Captain Alara prepared to depart with her fleet. But before leaving, she met one last time with Marcus in private. "You still do not know who we really are, do you?" she asked with a slight smile. "I have theories," Marcus admitted, "but nothing confirmed. Some mysteries are better left unsolved," Alara said. "What matters is that humanity is free to determine its own destiny now. What you do with that freedom is up to you. Will we see you again? Perhaps. If the galaxy needs reminding that humanity cannot be taken lightly." She turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Ambassador. The fleet you see outside this station? This is our diplomatic escort. Our actual military fleet is 3 times this size. We thought you should know, in sea. Ace anyone gets ambitious ideas in the future." Marcus felt his blood run cold. 3 times larger? At minimum. We have been very busy in our 17 systems. Tell the Council that, or do not. Your choice. Either way, they will wonder. And that uncertainty will keep them honest. The human fleet departed in perfect formation, jumping to hyperspace in a synchronized maneuver that left observers in awe. When they vanished, Marcus realized something important. The galaxy would never again look at humanity as a young, weak species needing guidance. They were now a power to be respected, feared, and hopefully befriended. 6 months later, Earth hosted the first galactic assembly ever held on a human world. Delegates from hundreds of species walked through the streets of Geneva, marveling at humanity's achievements. They saw a civilization that had gone from first spaceflight to interstellar power in just decades, accomplishing what others needed millennia to achieve. Marcus delivered the opening address to the assembled representatives. He spoke of cooperation, of mutual benefit, of a future where all species could thrive as equals. But he also made it clear that humanity would never again accept restrictions on its development. "We respect the Council's experience and wisdom," Marcus said, "but respect is not submission. We will walk our own path, make our own choices, and accept responsibility for our own fate. We invite others to walk beside us as partners. But we will not be led by those who see us as children needing supervision." The speech was met with mixed reactions. Some delegations applauded. Others sat in stony silence. But all understood the message. The galaxy had changed. The old order of dominant powers controlling emerging species was ending. A new era had begun. Raskunks, attending as Earth's official observer, approached Marcus after the ceremony. "Your species has gambled everything on this path. Success is not guaranteed. Nothing worth having ever is," Marcus replied. "But we would rather fail trying to build something great than succeed at remaining small and controlled. Spoken like a true human, Praxis said, and this time there was no condemnation in the words. Only acknowledgement. I wonder what the galaxy will look like in 1,000 years, with your kind shaping its future. So do we, Marcus admitted. But we will find out together. Above Earth, human and alien ships patrolled together for the first time. Defense agreements were being drafted. Trade negotiations were underway. Scientific exchanges were being planned. The galaxy was learning to accept humanity as an equal partner in shaping civilization's destiny. And somewhere in the depths of space, Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching stars slide past. Her mission was complete. Humanity was free. What came next would be determined by millions of humans across 17 worlds, all working to build a future worthy of the freedom they had won. A junior officer approached. Captain, we have received new orders from the Colony Authority. They want us to explore the region beyond the Council's mapped space. See what else is out there. Alara smiled. Of course they do. Humanity never was good at staying still. She turned to her crew. Set course for the unknown regions. Let us see what else the universe has to offer. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, disappearing into the vast darkness. The galaxy would see them again, when humanity needed to remind the Council of what they were capable of. But for now, they had other mysteries to explore, other frontiers to cross. Behind them, Earth spun peacefully in space, the homeworld of a species that had gone from primitive rockets to interstellar power in a single human lifetime. A species that had looked at the rules imposed by ancient civilizations and decided to write their own. The unknown fleet had sent a signal. It was human and fully armed. And the galactic order would never be the same. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.